Okay, we've got a couple more people joining. Fantastic. Michelle's joined us, which is lovely. Good morning. Let's see if I can do her connection unmute. Good morning, Michelle. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get started because it's 10:30 now. Because as I said before, this is being recorded, so you can always jump back in. So hopefully you've got yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea and especially a biscuit. It is Friday, and we'll get started. I'm going to unshare my webcam now, but I will at stages pop up. So let's have fun. Let's go. Here we go. So what I'm going to share with you first is my screen. Okay, so today we're talking about sharing work digitally, and the importance of that so far we've found out is when you are having to work remotely, it gives a huge new series of challenges. So we're going to explore how we can have a few tips and tricks to make it more efficient for you and effective for your learners. And hopefully I'm going to show you a couple of new things about Showbie that you didn't know. One of which is I'm going to talk about Showbie and Socrative. So if you have access to the Socrative teacher app, I'm going to show you my version, but after this webinar, you will need to have that. So let's get started. Welcome to this first in a series of webinars, especially for Tormead staff. I'm going to finish about 11:15, but the actual learning part of it will be finished about 11:05, so that there's a next 10 minutes for questions and answers if you wish. So I'm going to keep you on mute during the session. If you've got your own your own microphone, just turn it off. That's perfectly good. It just stops background noise when the recording. There will be opportunities to join in and have your say though, so I'm hoping to make it interactive. So this webinar is teacher-based session on the features of Showbie, as I said before, hopefully for all levels. So we're going to start by taking a poll. Let's see who we've got on here. So on your screen now, you should see a poll. If you could answer for me, please, that would be brilliant. Just tap on the screen or click your on your mouse. So what level of Showbie user are you? Are you an absolute beginner, confident, or actually you just want to know what else is possible? Thank you for voting. A couple more people are going to vote. We've got 30 seconds or so to do that. So although our priority at the moment is surviving, actually preparing resources for distance learning is one of the skills that we're having to really get to grips with quickly. And although that's what I'm specifically talking about today, these skills are obviously transferable into that old normal when we're in front of students in our class and that learning experience. So I'm just going to close the poll and share the results with you. So we've got 50-50, confident, but we also want to know what else is happening. So that's really great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start now by jumping back into Showbie. I'm just going to get rid of the results for you so you can see. Okay, so you can see my screen, hopefully on your screen. And as you can see, I've got two apps here. This one down here, this is the Teacher Socrative app that I'm going to talk about later. And right in the bottom corner, the Student Socrative app. Now, as you can see, when I tap into that, so I'm just going to go back a section because I don't think you got that bit. There we go. So this is the Teacher Socrative app here and the Student Socrative app. I'm going to talk about those a little bit later. But first of all, I'm going to jump into Showbie. So when I open Showbie, as you'll all know, we've got the class showing. Now, I'd like you to join my class if possible. And so if you could, with your app, join my class, there's the class settings for you, just on there. So the code is 3G436. If you could add that in. Now, obviously, if you're joining as teachers, I will allow you to come into my room because I'm going to show you a couple of bits and pieces on that particular classroom. So while you're joining, I'll let you know what we're going to do next. You can see that I've got in my class, hopefully, because you're all regular users, you don't need to worry about signing in for this. And parent access, as you know.
Oh, can I ask something? Do I have to go out of your webinar to join?
Yes, just minimize the webinar and then join via the Showbie.
I don't know how to minimize it, sorry.
Are you on your iPad?
Yes.
That's fine. So just from the bottom, just close the window that you're in at the moment, the webinar, and then open Showbie. The webinar will stay on the background until you then reopen it again. Okay.
Hi, sorry, it's Anne here. I don't seem to be able to work this. I'm on my computer. Should I be on my iPad? And when I clicked on vote, I couldn't vote to say that I'm an absolute beginner.
Okay, no problem.
So,
don't worry.
Now I'm looking at a screen that says no students yet. No students yet.
That's perfect. That's exactly what you should see, because that's actually my screen. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to open Showbie on your either the browser if you're on your Mac, or on your iPad, you can open Showbie on there.
Sorry, I've
And then
opened
you just
Showbie.
need to.
How do I do that?
Sorry, I've opened Showbie on my iPad, but I can't see your screen to join. I can just see what I normally get.
So that's right. So that you need to join in the normal way that you would join any class. So when you open your Showbie, you just need to go to up here to the spanner, and it will say join a class. Okay. And when you get that join a class there, can you see it's here on my screen?
Yeah.
When you do that,
Okay,
you
then
just need to add code here.
I don't
Yes,
really
please.
normally join classes because I just open it and it works from what I've set.
Yes, it's a new experience. That's good. It's good for you to know what happens.
Okay.
So once you're joining.
Right, waiting to join. Good, thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, now you're waiting to join because I need to allow you in because you're all teachers. So let's go to teachers. There you are. I'm just going to approve you. So remember, if you were doing this with your students, you would not have to do this. They're already automatically in your class. So I'm just very quickly, as you can see on the screen, allowing you all in. One of the features of Showbie that I'd like them to have is allow all, because when you're approving the teachers, it makes a difference. Okay. Well done, everybody. You managed that fantastically well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just dive directly into the good morning, Peter. Nice to see you. Okay, so you are now all in to that class. So I'm going to add.
Sorry, I'm here again, and I'm not in your class. My name wasn't there.
Okay, so can I ask you just to add that code in again? Could you just write this code down, 3G436? If you don't get in, it's okay, because you'll be able to see what's happening on the screen, and I'll follow that up with you after this session.
Okay, and where do I put that code?
So when you go into Showbie, you need to tap on this spanner icon, and it will say join a class. And where it says join a class, tap on that, and it will ask you to put your code in. Okay?
Okay,
Marvelous.
All right. I think I'm just going to have to watch because I'm not in the right place at all. Okay, I'll just quietly watch.
That's fine. Just follow along. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so as you can see, we're in this shared area here, and your names aren't here because you're teachers. If you were students, all your names would be there. So what I'm going to do is whiz into the class that I've already set up. It's a very basic class. Here we go, some tips and tricks. And can you see here, I've already put in a scanned example of some work. So if I tap on that, it opens directly to the PDF version. But at the top of the screen, can you see these are the skills that you can use for markup. So what I'm going to ask you is a second poll. So if you can vote, please do on this poll. I want to know what your favourite feature is of Showbie. So if you could just tell me what you particularly like to do from that list. Marvellous. So I'm talking about the PDF markup tools at this moment, but it might be that actually the great thing about using Showbie for you is that you can put everything in folders and get really organised, or that you can share your resources so quickly and easily between not just your students, but colleagues. So I'm going to leave that vote open for a few more seconds. Marvellous. Okay, so I'm going to close that poll now and show you the results. So here's the results for everybody. Voice notes are very important. I think as a teacher, they're the most effective but efficient way of giving feedback to your students. And I agree with you, sharing assignments is key. So across the board there, we're going to follow all of those different aspects. So if it's not one of your favourites at the moment, we can find out some other things about it. So you're already very aware about adding comments onto your work and being able to then tap on the icon, either it's your initial or in my case it's my face, but removing it to where you exactly want it to be. That's really good way of pinpointing work. So the features up here, as you say, the call out feature is the voice note. And the best thing about the voice note is that you can pause, gather your thoughts, and then continue to add to the comment. So once you save, it goes directly into that piece of work. Marvelous. I just also want to draw your attention to the top right hand corner here. So if you wanted to grade the work, you would do it directly from there. Although this is saying I can't grade this because it's not a student's piece of work, remember we're all teachers, that is exactly where it would come up. I'll show you that in a moment. This one is the portfolio. I'm not sure if you use the portfolios, but that's basically a really quick and easy way to get the best bits of the learning all in one place. This one is the shared instructions. So you can see at the moment it's toggled on. If I toggle it off, can you see my face disappears because I'm actually going to hide my support from those students until they need it. So what I do is use this for differentiation and pre-prepare a piece of work with some help and then unshare the instructions until I then enable it if that particular student needs that help. So it's a nice way to work via Showbie. So I'm just going to press done in that corner and I'm going to show you here how to very quickly add a scanned document, because I think this is one of the features that is underused. So I'm going to just use my iPad here to scan this document of Guildford, this workbook. And you can see when I just tap my button, I get the option to say which bit of the scan I want to keep. So I'm going to keep that bit of the scan, but can you see it's already ready for the next scan? So I'm going to actually scan the second half of the page as well, just using my fingers to move the outline of the scan and keep that scan. But this time I'm going to save those two pieces and it's going to ask me, do I want it to be as an individual item, so individual sheets, which would be great for exam examples, or do I want to put it together as a document? And I'm going to put mine together as a document. And as you can see, it's uploading those images at the bottom of the right hand corner there, nice and quickly, straight into my work. Now it only says the two images there. Now, if I was a student and I was, I'm just going to rename that on here and say that's Guildford info. Okay. Now, if I was a student looking at this, it's quite difficult to see that thumbnail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you these three buttons in the top corner here. If I tap on there and then toggle that on, it becomes larger on the page for the students. So it's easier to navigate and for them to see. Now, obviously, if I then tap on the piece of work, it opens directly, and now I can do all of my annotating as I had previously. This is for your notes taking. Okay, and so it goes directly into there, quick and easy to do. Now, can you see those three people here? These are the shared items that I've got. And can you see that when I tap on that, it tells me that I've actually got two documents in the shared item, and if I want to from here go to the second document, I can then open it up and it gives me that example as well. So that's a really nice little feature to remember those 3 people in the corner, because especially when you're marking work, all of your students' work will be contained here, and you can then just very quickly go to the next person's work from there, rather than having to go back in your class and opening each student individually. So while we're having a look at that, and before we go on to the next section of our work, I'm just going to ask you to complete this poll for me, please. Do you think that Showbie has been an effective way of sharing work during distance learning? And I can see some of you have voted already. You're really getting used to this. Well done, everyone. It's 100% complete. That was really quick. Here we go. Let's see. Absolutely. That is exactly what we need to do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just show you the next kind of added bonus to using Showbie. So you remember the plus button back in the class? If I want to add here, I'm going to actually add a quiz, because that's the way when we're teaching remotely, we need to make sure that we get a grip and an understanding of how our students are working and how much they are learning and retaining information. So I'm going to use this section here to do a quiz. But before I do, I'm going to need to explain to you about Socrative. So Socrative, can you see down here is the Socrative Teacher app. Socrative is a way to do formative and summative assessments that can be linked to your Showbie class, and you get all the results seamlessly into that one class. It's a really very quick tool to do that with. So assessment for learning is what we need. So we're going to go through that aspect now. Now, as a student, the students don't need to have the app if they're working via Showbie. You can use the student app separately, and I'm just going to quickly show you that now. And all they do is they are given a room number, or a room name, which will make sense when I open the teacher room. Okay, so you can give access that way, but because you're using Showbie, you don't need to. The only way you can use Socrative quizzes in Showbie is if you have a pro license for Socrative. Now, if you are at Tormead, all of your teachers are pro teachers, so you have access to the pro Socrative license. And the best way to know if you've done that is if I go back into Showbie and just show you, remember this is the first page. If I tap on my information, can you see my Socrative connection is there? And it's telling me that I've got a strong connection to Socrative, but that's where you need to go to see if you have access to Socrative. Okay, so let's go back to that now. So I'm going to tap into the Socrative app so you can see what's happening. This is where you land when you open, and you can see that there's lots of different resources that you can use with Socrative really quickly. You don't have to do a full-blown quiz every time. You can just do an exit ticket to kind of take the temperature of that class to see how they're learning. But we are going to talk about quizzes. Now I'm going to tap on the top here to the quizzes. Here are some that I've already made myself. They're really easy to add a quiz of your own. It's so straightforward, I don't need to show you that. It's very quick and easy to do. And I'm going to use this World Facts quiz today with you. The next part here is the rooms. Now, can you see that this is my default room? And when you start Socrative teacher, you'll be given that default room, and that's the one that they put in to student Socrative if you're just using it separate from Showbie. But I'm going to use this room VBA1. But if I wanted to add a room, so for example, I wanted to put my upper sixth into one room, I could add that room just very quickly and easily there. You'll also see that there are reports, and anything that you do in Showbie also is recorded in your Socrative app. So if I wanted to look at all my different rooms, I could go and find out those reports that are stored there for me on how my students are doing. And that's the same for results if I had some there. Okay, so that's Socrative. It's really straightforward. But now I'm going to jump back into Showbie to show you how to link your Socrative quiz to your class. So I'm going to jump back into the class that you joined today. And remember, we were in that Guildford lesson. I'm going to go into the shared items and add a quiz. I'm going to tap on quiz. So can you see here, it says you need to connect that Socrative room. Remember, I said we were going to do the VBA1. So I'm going to tap on that, and it's direct there. Do you want to connect? And it's as easy as tapping on the right one. Now you can see it's given me a list of the quizzes that I've already made, and there's my world facts quiz. So I'm going to tap on that, and it's going to ask me, oh, I think it did it, hopefully. Let's go back to that. Sorry, I think I just tapped off for a second. World facts quiz. Apologies for that. This is not when you want it not to work, is it? Okay, I'm just going to check back in my app that it's open. Okay, this should happen next time, so I'm just going to do this in case it needs to have any of that. Okay. Apologies. Right, we'll go through that again. Quiz. Start a new activity. I've confused it now. There we go. Okay. Would you like to stop the current activity? And yes, I'd like to start an activity, please. I apologise for this. This is the bit that's supposed to be really easy. Okay, so if it doesn't work this time, I'm just going to restart my, I'm just going to do that now. So excuse me for a second while I just reboot everything. Quite a lot open this morning. Let's try this again. Let's go in again. It's probably what's happened is probably my son's woken up and turned all his computer on. So quiz. I think it might be my magic keyboard that's giving me the hassle. Yes, it is. Okay, so apologies. I was working with a magic keyboard and it lost connection. So back to where we were, the world facts quiz here. And this is exactly what I was hoping to see at the beginning, which was we have to choose how we'd like to deliver this quiz to our students. So whether we give instant feedback, and can you see when I do that, the parameters change. So the student will be able to answer the questions, but not change their answer. So they'll get feedback after the question's been answered, and you can monitor their progress. Or we can go to open navigation, where the students can answer the questions in order of their choosing. And again, you still get to monitor that progress. Or finally, you control what happens, and you can skip and revisit questions. So we're going to do that activity. So can you see it's now in progress on your iPad? So if you're into your Showbie, tap on that World Facts quiz and you should be able to answer the quiz, and you'll see that there are some multi-choice questions, there's true or false questions, and there's a short answer question as well. So as you're doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on that quiz and show you what I can see. So I can see on here, remember that because your teachers, you're not on here, what I would see normally is you would then all appear on that list and I can see if you're answering the question. Okay, I'm going to ask you to end that quiz. And I'm going to show you another one in here so that you can get a good idea of what it would look like. Okay, so here, for example, this is just an example of one of the students. You would see their name and you would see their percentage mark, and each question you would see which question it was that they got right or wrong. Okay, so it gives you all of that information directly as you're working within Showbie. So it's a really cool tool actually to use. So thank you for taking that quiz. What I'm going to do is ask you whether you think you would like to integrate the quizzes into the Showbie class, accepting my little hiccup of using my keyboard. Marvellous. Thank you for voting, everybody. And here's the result. And I completely understand that some of you are thinking, oh my gosh, it's another step too far. And I did my utmost then to confuse you a little bit more, but I promise you it is a very simple and effective way of understanding how your students are learning when they're not in front of you, which is a job and a half, isn't it, to continue to do. So what I'm going to just do now, we're in the last 5 minutes of this webinar. What I do want to do is I want to show you how we can distribute those results. So I'm going to go back into here and tap on the quiz. Oh, sorry, I went too far. Tap on the 3 dots at the end of the quiz. Can you see that? Oh, I'll share my screen with you. That will be helpful. Apologies. Hide the results. There we go. So can you see what I've done is I'm still in the class where in the shared items where the quiz was, and it says it's ended. I'm going to tap on those 3 buttons there, and it gives me an idea of how those results, I want to see those results. So I'm just going to put distributing results reports on there, and it's just going to send to each of those students that took that report or took that quiz their results. So what it will do, it will send it, if you were all pupils, can you see it needs to have students rather than teachers. If you were students, it would send you a copy of the results and tell you if you answered each one correctly and which ones you got wrong. So it gives you instant feedback, and it pops up in your class, and I'll show you what it would look like to do that. Apologies, I'm just going to go back to find a class. I'm just going to jump in right at the bottom to a year French class here. Okay. So can you see here, you would have all your students' names as here, and it would just have actually a red circle would come up, and it will show that the results have been sent back to that student. So it's a really quick and easy way of getting results and feedback instantly to your students. Okay, so we're on the last 2 minutes. And what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm just going to, because some of you are users of Socrative, sorry, Showbie, I'm going to go into a class that I've asked the teacher permission to do. So today's session, look. So can you see in this session, there's that red circle that I was talking about. That's what they get if each of the students gets when their results come in. So if I open up a session here, you are all familiar with the paperclip to say something's been attached. I'm going to see if I can find some work that has been added without a line. And sometimes there are comments here. Along here, I'm looking for some blue lines. The blue line means that something's been added and you haven't yet seen it. So it's important to kind of keep an eye on that for efficiency, having efficiency in mind. If you open up your class and you only need to focus on the bits where the blue line is displayed at the end of the student, because then you know you haven't seen that particular piece of work. Okay, so final couple of things before I open up the chat room for questions. Remember that to use Socrative quizzes with Showbie, you need to have a pro Socrative account. You can check that you've got a pro Socrative account by tapping on your information at the top and tapping My Socrative Connection. And it will tell you there if you have that connection opened. Results can be also found back in your Socrative app on your reports here. The World Facts quiz there, look, that's today's one that we've done. You can go onto that and find the results immediately in there. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. I really hope you found it useful and I didn't confuse you too much. And what I'm just about to do is just share my webcam with you so we can say goodbye. Marvellous. So thank you very much for listening. And I apologise for that little hiccup, but we're due to meet again next Thursday after school, and we're going to have another virtual kind of staff meeting, and we're talking about presentations, making the most effective use of presentations for distance learning and preparing exciting creative resources for your students. Now, I know you're looking forward to the wind down, but it's quite nice to have the idea of helping your students at this moment. So I'm just going to say thank you so much for joining me and enjoy the rest of your day.